Hey tea heads, yep. There's a PuErh cake under here, a new raw gushu PuErh from last year. So I'm speaking to you from the beginning of 2023. This was sourced from spring 2022. Every year we like to hold back one or two cakes because I feel that that extra year of maturation just adds extra oomph to the tea, develops the flavors, softens out certain notes, increases other notes, and just brings about a more harmonious tea. And so we've kept this one back. This one here is called the Breezy Bohemian. Breezy Bohemian, take a look at the wrapper. The Afghan hound up in the Alps, in the mountains on a ski lift chair, but it's not winter, as you can see from the background, going up to spend some breezy time up at the top of the mountains, but you can see the lakes and the trees and the meadows all around. You know, I can hear the sort of cowbells ringing in the distance and the smell of those meadow flowers and just that lovely, if you've not been to Switzerland or that part of the world during the summer and you only sort of reserve it as a skiing destination, you're missing out, because I tell you, it is stunning during the summertime. And this Afghan hound is just chilling, heading up to the mountains, you know, the breeze blowing through his or her hair, and yeah, the Breezy Bohemian. So let's quickly talk about this tea. This is a spring 2022 tea, so April 2022. The cultivar is going to be the Daiyejong variety. The origin, this is from Pasha. Pasha is an area, a mountainous area, sort of near Bulang and Nanwar, so west side of Sichuan-Bana. And I have been searching for a Pasha for many years. I think that the last pure Pasha we sourced, and I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure, it gets a little fuzzy with all the releases, but I'm pretty sure that it was Monocle Boss. Monocle Boss was one of our first ever PuErh tea cake releases. It's sort of become like a legendary tea cake. A lot of people talk about Monocle Boss and remember Monocle Boss very fondly. And I've always, you know, said Pasha is one of my favorite mountains, and yet we haven't sourced any tea from that area. So every year we taste Pasha tea, and it's never sort of crossed the line. And I'll give you the sort of general overview of why that is. And that is because Pasha is a very potent area, very mineral. And I find that sometimes it can be a bit overly mineral. That can dominate things too much. And even though it has an incredible depth and richness and variety of different flavor notes, sometimes the minerality just sort of takes over. And that wasn't the case with this one. It is very mineral from my recollection of the Maocha, and but it is really balanced and beautiful, which is why we selected it. Picking and processing is going to be bud up to 3 leaves. And the elevation is about 1,800 or 1,600 meters, around that, high altitude. Okay, let's go. My first taste of the Breezy Bohemian. Oh, look at the look of these leaves. If that doesn't set your heart racing, then I don't know what does. Like, lots and lots of buds, really even across the cake. You can see it is exactly what you'd want from the look of a raw PuErh in general. I mean, you don't want to make, you know, completely cast iron rules, but that is looking beautiful. Lots and lots of combinations of buds and larger leaves and medium leaves. The color is sort of combination of those sort of sage green, beige, antique silver buds, and then you've obviously got the sort of khakis and plum colors. And as I said, this is nearly a year old. Let's call it sort of 9 months or so. So, you know, it has had some time to mature and age. And this is not about sort of even approximating aged tea. It's just the young tea, and you'll have noticed this over the years. We always sort of release teas when we feel that they are ready. They will always be changing. They always change from Malcha. Even when they first come in, they're always going to be different. And some teas I think work really well from immediate release. Some teas I feel need that time for certain, especially these really potent teas, for that sort of settling process to happen and a slight sort of maturation process to happen. Okay, so let's dive into this cake. Lovely compression. I mean, the compressions on all our cakes, I mean, it used to be that you'd have sort of variation in compressions with the different places that you press at, but we've sort of got our process down, so we don't have any of those crazy, like, brick iron, like, impossible to open cakes. So this is very easy to keep the leaves whole. Okay, so I'm wanting, I don't know, 6, 7 grams here. Let's see what I've got here. Let's do the eyeball. I reckon that's about 6. Oh, 5.5. So, yeah. Let's do 7.8. Why not? It's always good the first time you try a tea to really sort of load it up. Although I will say already that I approach this tea with, I need to learn how to brew it and how to sort of, you know, get the most out of it. But I approach this tea with a little bit of caution because I know how potent this tea is, or at least how potent I hope it is. Drinking in this bronzed, I think we call it gold brush guy one. The Breezy Bohemian. We've just altered slightly the paper wrapping that we're using for our cakes now. I think it just lets the colours pop a bit more. Maybe you see that. Always tinkering, always trying to improve things. Okay, let's warm up this guy one. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've had just a straight up single tea tasting, in-depth 10-step tasting together. So I'm looking forward to this. Gonna brew at about 95 degrees, 205 Fahrenheit. The little ducky gets first heating up, and don't worry, you're gonna get some rinse as well. Okay, here we go. Let's get these beautiful leaves in. Beautiful color. Big and sort of long and whole. Prep the nose, prep the olfactory system. Okay, here we go. Sweet. First thing that hits my nose is sweetness. Butterscotch. So buttery, caramelly, slightly nutty. Some sort of slightly oxidized apple. So you cut an apple, you leave it for a while. Slightly oxidized apple, I would say, is in there as well. But then there's so a lot of PuErh teas will have similar notes of the caramels and the toffees and some fruits, some pears and apples and things like that. But the Afghan hound is up in the mountains, and there are some herbs up there. I'm getting herbs that are a little bit more medicinal, a bit more spicy, like patchouli or marjoram. Patchouli, marjoram. I am getting some hot rocks as well, like that. The smell of a beach or a desert, like, so it's got that sort of warm, not just rock, but sort of that warm, sort of almost sandy minerality to it as well. There are some flowers as well in there. I'm not quite sure if I can nail it, but there's like a very sweet muskiness. So it's sort of like a little, it's sweet and heady and a little bit animalic. It's got this very sort of sweet muskiness to it. And I don't know enough about which flower that might be, but it's there. I'm also getting like this very overripe or perfectly ripe persimmon, you know, when it's just soft and you can eat it with a spoon. Maybe like those Japanese one, hoshigaki, like, so it's concentrated persimmon note. So immediately off the bat, it just has a very broad spectrum of aromatics that sing out as, "Ooh, this is a different PuErh. This is a different tea." And I think why people have such a sort of fond memory of Monocle Boss was or is because it had that. It had a lot going on in terms of funk and depth and unusual sort of unusual flavor notes. The smell coming off the wet leaf is already very, very heady, but quite deep. Yeah, quite deep. Ooh. Now this is going to be a struggle. So that desert smell is there. I don't know if that's a smell, but so like I'm picking up all of those herbal notes, but I'm picking up this heat, this intense heat. Like, I mean, I've said before, like beach skin, like hot beach, like if you've sat on a beach for like the whole day under the sun, there's that sort of a certain smell. So again, slightly animalic in the sense that it's got like a clean but sort of sweat note to it, but then there's also this sort of arid, dry desert sort of rocks and things like that going on as well. But of course, oh my gosh, wow, potent. It's like a combination of toffees, dark toffees, but then a sort of a bright acidity to it that I associate with like frozen orange juice. So it's not as fresh as like, oh, I've just zested, you know, I've peeled an orange and that fresh orange peel. It's more concentrated. It's deeper. It's lost some of those high notes, but it still maintains that body of acidity and sort of citrus note going on as well. I'm getting some forest floor, but not earth at all. It's more like again that the smell of, I don't know, like I want to say like it conjures up images of like moss, and so it's green again, but in a deep, concentrated, foresty sort of way. So those, you know, forests up there in the mountains, for example. And there's a clean note to it as well. I'm going to say laundry smell, but it's more like you've walked into a hot laundry room. You know, like the dryers are all, like if you go to a laundromat, do they still exist? Probably. Not so much the smell of the detergent, but that, like when you open up a tumble dryer and you get that smell of like fresh laundry, but again, heated, concentrated, rich, deep, you know, inset into the fog of aroma. It's all hanging in that deep zone. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more, but we're gonna brew it up. So I'm brewing it, as I said, 95 degrees, which I'm pretty much at actually. And I'm gonna brew for, you know me, I say 25 seconds, but then you do a stopwatch and it might be 35. I'm gonna try to be relatively accurate here because I want to see how much I have to control those minerals, but I think we'll be okay. This is the exciting part. Whenever you get a tea, you know, you want to experiment, you want to try things out. I recommend that you sort of go a little, like put a lot of leaf in, but go a bit conservative with your brew times just to sort of feel it out. Because if you overdo it, then it becomes actually harder to assess it. It's always better to sort of slightly underdo it. So I think that's probably enough. Color, got quite a golden hue to it actually. Yeah. Nice golden, slightly apricot color. Okay. There's a lot more going on here. There is no leather. So for those of you who like Monocle Boss, there isn't that leather note to it. But instead, it's got a fabric sort of note to it, which is like, I guess that tumble dryer smell is sort of describes it a bit. Not perfectly though, I have to say. Right, lovely golden liquor, looking nice and thick. Let's check out the texture of this tea. Yeah, looking nice and thick. Very thick. Oh, nailed the brew. Oh, nailed the brew. The thickness is, yeah, I would class it as thick. It's thick, but it's not, oh my gosh, the taste on this. It's not thick and sort of syrupy. It's sort of thick and mineral. That mineral is there, and that mineral immediately on my tongue is just making it do that thing that only minerals can do. It's creating a lot of saliva. It feels like it's sort of stimulating, like it's like waking up all of my taste buds and saliva glands, and it's so active in my mouth. It's so active in my mouth. So I would say it's thick, like you've taken mineral water and you've made it thicker, and because it's so rich in those amazing minerals, which are like carriers of flavor, because they set forth this activation of your saliva glands, your taste buds sort of like wake up. You get a slight sort of not astringency, but a slight sort of pulling sensation, and then this release of vapor, and that vapor is so rich in aromatics. Okay, let's talk about those aromatics. So we're gonna try to move through it, through the spectrum from sort of low to high. So on the lower notes, I'm getting, and it's hard to sort of pick it apart because it's just all one great harmony, but melted butter, pecans, carob, not chocolate, carob. Caramel. So caramel, pecan, carob, melted butter. Let's all park that in one area. Let's move into the fruits. Melon, yellow melon, honeydew, persimmon, creaminess. Moving up a level, we're getting a little bit of apple candy. So that slight sort of, concentrated, almost artificial apple taste in there. Love that taste. Flowers. Not so much. Mostly in what I've said, the sort of creamy and deep, the light. Ooh, rose apple. I think it's called rose apple. The red one that looks sort of pear-shaped. So a bit more quench, a bit more that freshness that you get from like an Asian pear, but I'm going to say rose apple. And then that leads to mineral. And the mineral, the Pasha mineral, is when it's right, it's so right. It's like I don't know enough about geology. I'm not a geologist. One of the great things about drinking tea is that, you know, it forces, or finding tasting notes, it forces you to sort of study things that you probably wouldn't have studied before. And I'm getting like a quite iron-rich sedimentary rock like note, but so perfectly controlled. So it's like the trigger that sets off all of these reactions in the mouth in a really beautiful way. Yeah, it's just perfect, and it dissipates and moves to a sweetness that is like now I'm getting flowers in the sweetness. So I'm getting like touch of jasmine, a touch of like lemon balm sweetness, and melon, and like, again, sort of a caramel note in the mouth. Not cooked down sugar, not treacly, all in the sort of blonde territory. Blonde like this dog is here. And interestingly, that laundry note persists as well. So I'm getting that a hot tumble dryer laundry note in the mouth. Wow. Oh my God. Oh, so much going on here. That's a hard one. The patchouli and marjoram, like, I almost want to say there's like a little bit of allspice in it as well. You know, there's sort of in that sweet, herbal, spiced note. And that animalic, I hope that's a word, that animalic aroma persists from the musk and the beech skin. I'm picking up like a slight smell of like wet wool in there, and it just wakes you up. It's sort of like your brain goes, "Oh, what's going on? This is unusual." And even for somebody who's drunk a lot of PuErh tea, Pasha always seems to throw out some curveballs, and this is no exception. As I said, a lot of the time, the curveballs can be sort of very interesting, but sort of lose balance or fuzzy out all of the good other notes. But here, maintained, restrained, and cooperates with all of the other lovely floral, fruit, creamy, deep notes of this tea. Color is getting a little bit greener, very, very bright. No, I was going to give some to the duck, but I'm not that generous. That first brew, whatever the timing was spot on. Let's see. Second brew. It's a bit hotter. It went up to boiling point. Let's see what happens. Amazing. Definitely that extra 5 degrees has brought out some more punch in the tea. Not bitterness, but like those carob notes, the deeper notes, the carobs and the mosses, and that laundry, hot, tumble dryer taste is higher up. It's sort of higher up in terms of volume, just is a bit more in your face. The minerality is a bit more in your face. The physicality is a bit more in your face. Preference, I would stick to the guide of 95. But The beautiful thing is that when you do that, when you overcharge, when you like brew it at that hotter temperature, the minerals again just set off this amazing reaction in your mouth, and the vapor rises from deep down in your throat. You're getting this vapor, and it's getting sweeter. So that that juiciness is starting to become mountain. I'm going to say mountain flowers in homage to, you know, the mountains here. I'm going to say there's that fresh air mountain flower note that, you know, this Afghan hound will be experiencing as, you know, as the hound is transported up into the rarefied mountain air. There's this what I've talked about, like the wet wool, the skin. You know, there's this really interesting note in there that I think is one of the sort of standout little notes that just is going to pique a lot of people's interest. It's not at all, if you've seen that video I released recently with the Lao Banjiang, where it had that sort of kidney animalic note. It's not unpleasant. It's sort of in that sort of laundry, wet wool, skin sort of note, musky kind of note. It's really, really interesting. Yeah, delicious. One more brew of this before I leave you and check out the body sensation. Oh, I've got to do smell of empty gong dao bei. Let me do that now. 2 brews. Let's see what it's doing. Oh, very sweet. Like a meringue. I was going to say icing sugar, but it's a bit more cooked than that, a bit more mellowed than that. Yeah, meringue, blondies, you know, instead of brownies, blondies. Yeah, that's what I'm getting for now. Cheers, everybody. Right, what's our temperature at? 95, okay. Bringing it back to 95. Let's see what it's doing. I'm not pouring on the leaves, just pouring around again. With these potent teas, some teas you can just sort of slap the water in, but with these kinds of potent teas, you've got to just have a little bit more, you know, consideration, in my opinion. You know what I'm getting? Panettone. Oh, the candied fruit and that buttery, yeasty note. I'm getting panettone. Love the smell of panettone. Up there in the top 100 smells of all time, I think. Breaking into a really good, you know, mother yeast panettone and sticking your nose in. Christmas is over, but, you know, the memory of the panettone lives on. Okay. 95. Spot on. 95 is the temperature that I would recommend you start with. It brings out more of the melons and the apples and those just crunchy, fresh apples, crunchy, fresh, and those rose apples just quenchy. Not quenching, like quenching as in like if you're thirsty and you crunch into one of those apples, just juicy, and my mouth is just juicy, flooding with juiciness. The look of the leaves, you can see. They are super high quality. All right, let me go through some infusions. I'm gonna come back. Oh, I haven't been moving my duck. This is 3. I will come back when I'm at like 6 or 7, and let's see if the potency in the mouth matches the potency in the body. Infusion number 6. And yes, this tea is got a really lovely body sensation. The potency is most definitely there. The first feeling that I'm getting is a lovely flushing, heating quality throughout my body, soaks into every pore, every sinew, warms you up. It feels very sort of loosening, lubricating in my body, that warmth, you know, when you like, if you've stepped into like, or you've stepped out of like a hot bath, and you just feel like that heat has sort of just melted away some tensions. This has that really floaty, warm, melting sort of quality to it in the heating element of this tea, and in the mind or in the brain, it feels floaty. It feels breezy. I know, yes, Breezy Bohemian. Maybe I'm just fixated on the state of mind of that dog there, wishing that I was in that mode, just like in the present, staring at the soft fascinations of nature, and just letting the breeze flow through my hair. Maybe it's all, you know, influencing me, but I feel breezy, I feel light, I feel awakened, but in a sort of light, floating, breezy sort of way. And of course, I mean, we don't pick these covers at random. We taste the matcha and taste the matcha, and we go through so many iterations of discussions as we taste the tea to try to understand its character in order to come up with this. So it's not, you know, you might feel like it's, oh yeah, he's just, you know, imitating the cover, but the cover was designed around the feeling of this tea, and it has persisted. If anything, it's just become warmer, but you'd expect that. I mean, as in terms of heating, because you'd expect that because, you know, the initial matcha tends to be quite bright, a little bit more maybe, you know, awakening in a different way. This is just warm, melting, floaty, a lovely body sensation for me. Taste, I would say it changes in some ways more than a lot of other teas. So you're getting like these little cameos that pop in. So right now I've got like this like melon taffy candy creaminess. So it's sort of like those flavors that started off quite diverse, and you know, they sort of meld a little bit together to create this sort of like almost like pavlova. So I'm getting that meringue and pear and apple and melon all coming together. It's a lovely, lovely tea. And it's been a while, I think, since we've released, you know, a raw PuErh. I'm starting to, you know, the releases sort of blur by me. But, you know, finally we've got Pasha back in stock. And for all of those people that were waiting for return of Pasha, and a sort of sequel to the Monocle Boss. This is not Monocle Boss 2, this is a tea in its own right, but my lord, it really shows off the joys of this beautiful mountain area. That's it, tea heads. Check out other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word. Because you know what? Nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.